Hi, I'm Keith.
And I'm Aaron.
And this is Destination Whiskey.
And we're in
Denison, Texas. Hey, we're in Denison, Texas today. We're going to check out the town. It's a town about 75 miles north of Dallas. Population just under 25,000. It is the birthplace of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Also the birthplace of Sully Sullenberg, you know, the man who landed the plane in the Hudson and saved all those people. We also heard a rumor that Doc Holliday used to have a dentist office here. We'll have to check that out and see if that's true. But we're gonna go check out the town, be right back with some more information for you.
Hello, welcome to the Red River Railroad Museum.
There we go.
Come on in.
All right, you said you could tell us a little bit about how Denison came about.
Yep, I'll give you the short story. So, in the post-Civil War, there's this competition for railroads to make their way through Indian Territory at the time, Oklahoma, and get into the northern part of Texas. So that's never happened before. So a company known as the Missouri, Kansas, Texas Railroad, Katy Railroad for short, the Katy Railroad negotiates with the civilized tribes up in the Indian Territory to be not only the first railroad to come through, but at this time the only railroad to come through. So when the Katy makes their way down to Oklahoma, they've won the race to Texas. So the Katy makes its way through Oklahoma at Indian Territory to then. They make it to the Red River, and the goal is to set up a hub somewhere in this part of Texas. In the early days, it was discussed possibly our sister city, Sherman. There was a man by the name of William Benjamin Munson, and I have a picture of him here on the wall. He had come from Illinois, and he lives in Sherman at the time. If you drive around Denison, you'll start to notice Munson Stadium, Munson Park, Munson Street, Munson Law Firm, Munson. Well, he was a Sherman guy at the time. He's tasked with getting the city of Sherman to put up $50,000 in bond money for the Katy to set up shop in Sherman. They say no, they can pay that themselves. There's a railroad that's coming up from the south, the Houston Texas Central. The Katy Railroad can pay for that themselves. So he reports back to the Katy Railroad. A man named Robert Stevens is the general manager that has tasked, that he had met and they discussed things. So they start buying up land here. And they did it kind of the Walt Disney way of buying Disney World. You don't do it in the name of the Katy Railroad. You do it in different names, different company names, so the price doesn't go up. So they're buying all this land up that would become Denison. And then when it's finally announced that they're going to auction off the properties to the general public, the town will be born. Of course, the people of Sherman are not too happy about that because Katy's not coming to Sherman, is it? And they cry foul on the deeds. It was illegal. Well, he was meticulous. He lived in their town at the time, but he was meticulous. And so everything was on the up and up, and the town is born. And I always think of when people came to Mr. Munson, they said, hey, we want to get on these good deals too. And his response was probably the auction. Come to the auction. You can pay what everybody else is willing to pay. And so it's not about the football rivalry between these two towns. That's what we want to talk about. It started with that railroad. So the railroad was here until 1988.
Wow.
So in a dark day. I was in college at the time when that day happened, and I know my parents had quite a few friends they went to church with and public did all kinds of things with. They had a transfer to Omaha. So it was a very dark day, but the great thing about this town, you can look up and down just Main Street and the outskirts, we continue to thrive. So that's a great thing about that. If you want a quick story about the first man that drove that first train across, I got a cool story for that one. But it's
real quick, a question for you. I'm interested in that too, but a question for you. So I've seen everything Katy, K-A-T-Y.
Yeah.
Missouri, Kansas, Texas.
Yep.
I see the K and I see the T. Where's the M?
Yeah, you don't see, well, MK, so the K, so the Katy Railroad is just short for MKT, Missouri, Kansas, Texas. Of course, Indian Territory wasn't going to work in the, in the acronym, so in Oklahoma would be later. And so Oklahoma just never got added to it. But Missouri, Kansas, Texas, and then take the last two letters, KT, shortened to Katy.
And they just dropped the M.
Yeah. And of course, Katy it's Katy.
Right.
And they did have a person who played the role of Miss Katy. You'd see her on playing cards and publications.
I think I remember hearing about
that. We sell some of those vintage playing cards actually from that time period here in our gift shop.
Okay.
But so the Katy name went from there. And like you can see MKT on our clock, then it says Katy lines below it. So that would be one of their actual logos, even though that's a modern clock. But yeah. So yeah, you'll hear people say Missouri, Kansas, Texas, MKT, Katy. It's all the same thing.
Okay.
I'll introduce you to a man. His name is Patrick Henry Tobin, but we would just call him Pat Tobin because that was what he went by. So it's 1872. It's December. The Katy Railroad has plans for a passenger train to enter Texas for the first time. So think of this like the Neil Armstrong moment. Christmas Day, 1872. So you're going to have dignitaries, politicians. It's a big deal. And so Mr. Tobin is the engineer that's going to drive that train. He's also on the bridge building crew that's building that Red River Bridge. And he is very concerned that the bridge is not going to hold that first passenger train, and he doesn't want to be the guy that maimed or killed important people. So he asked the building crew guys to load a work train with railroad ties, rails, and bodies to test the bridge. And so on Christmas Eve, the day before the big event, he drives that work train across the Red River Bridge, and it holds perfectly. You can tell he lived to be a ripe old age. He is so relieved that he, in his own words, tied it down when it came to the steam whistle. So he laid on that whistle all the way from the bridge into Denison. Well, you don't have highway noise in 1872, so anyone living and working in this area knew exactly what that meant. In our minds, it'd be the Neil Armstrong moment. So what would you want to do when you heard that? You want to see it with your own eyes. So the people came and witnessed this moment in history. A party was planned for the next day. Well, they had the party that day. They had the party on Christmas Eve. So when Mr. Tobin went across, and on Christmas Day, as scheduled, he brings the official passenger train. But we now know it's the Buzz Aldrin moment. It's train number 2.
Oh.
Very few people, if any, showed up. They'd already had their party, and they're sleeping it off, and, in Denison fashion, and the rough, rowdy days in that time period. So when the rich, wealthy dignitaries and politicians stepped off, they did not have a lot of people to receive them. And all of the drink had been drunk. I just think it's a great story. And he was 19, we think, at the time he did that.
Wow.
We think he was about 19, tasked with being that engineer.
Wow.
So he could have been younger, older, but 19 is kind of the number I see him as. But just a great story. Had a third grade education.
So he's a well-educated man for back then.
Yeah, highly educated. Went on to be a prominent businessman here in town, city council, school board, even up to, and I'm a Longhorn fan, he was on the board of regents at A&M.
Okay.
So not bad for a third grade education.
All right.
We had our own golden spike moment when the Houston, Texas Central did make it, and they joined. They technically didn't join. They were side-by-side tracks with a lot of animosity. Eventually, cooler heads prevailed, and they did finally connect tracks because it was very expensive to transport from one. And it was miles. It wasn't just side-by-side. Their hub was in a place called Red River City, which we actually don't know where that is today. Our location was, of course, here. But we did have a ceremony. Our mayor at the time, Mayor Owings, he made a kind of a proclamation, didn't do a big speech or anything, but it was a big deal. Of course, that was kind of our Buzz Aldrin moment. The Transcontinental Railroad East-West had already occurred, but the North-South actually happened right here in Denison, Texas. So you had Galveston, you go all the way to Canada. I mean, you have to change different lines, but at that point, all of a sudden, America's connected East-West and now North-South.
All right. Excellent.
Here in Denison. So.
Let me ask you this. I read on a relatively unreliable source that Doc Holliday had a dentist office here for a while. Is that true, or do you know?
Yeah, I know the answer. The answer is he never had a dentist office here. Now, here's the funny part. This is the 100 block. There were only 100 block and 200 block when Doc Holliday would have been here. But you can go down to the 600 block and say, oh yeah, Doc Holliday had his office here, or he would have been here. I mean, of course, everybody's going to claim. It didn't exist then. He was a gambler, right?
Right.
that's what we mainly know. He did not do a dentist office here. He lived in a hotel that direction. And here's what I think happened based on a local historian. He says, think about it. As big and bad as Doc Holliday was, why would he have not stayed here very long? If you are a successful gambler in the 1800s in Denison, Texas, you are going to probably be murdered.
You got to move on. You got to make your money and move on.
The big bad man himself left this town because it was a very violent town for people who were like him.
So what you're saying is the rumors that he had an office here are most likely not true.
Not true.
But he did reside here for a while?
Yeah, and I think it was just a period of months. Roy, do you remember the time period for Doc Holliday? Was it 6 months?
That's what I think I heard.
Yeah.
I thought they actually at least determined not a address, but at least like there was some documentation that he actually was here for a short period of time.
Well, he lived in a hotel.
Yeah.
That's what,
Yeah, but they.
So, well, thanks a lot for sharing.
Yeah.
And I think you told me earlier, I want to make sure I understand, you're in downtown Denison right now,
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
but you're getting ready to move.
Yes, and we will stay in downtown Denison.
You're going to stay in the downtown area, okay? But you don't know exactly where yet.
No, we're looking at multiple properties, and we have a little bit of time, so we just need to make sure we make a wise decision of where we go. But our goal is to stay on Main Street or maybe possibly at the depot. I can't guarantee.
Yeah, the
that.
depot's just what, like 2 blocks away?
Oh yeah, it's I mean, a walk over. You can walk over there. In fact, if you haven't, you need to go check out the depot. 1911 building. But so yeah, we will stay in this. I mean, stay
In downtown.
Downtown. Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yep.
Yep.
Appreciate that.